Some lives are written in the quiet ink of ordinary days, while others are carved out of the stone of history, weathered by storms and shaped by the bond of brotherhood. This is the story of Joseph Howard Alcox and his older brother, Herbert Baxter Alcox, two men whose destinies were forged by their North Carolina roots and the power of the sea. Herbert, born in 1903 in Goose Creek, North Carolina, and Joe arrived 1911 in Kinston. Their beginnings were marked by tragedy. By the time Joe was 2, their mother had succumbed to tuberculosis, and their father, Arthur, his spirit broken, vanished into the shadows, leaving 6 children scattered like autumn leaves. While Joe was taken in by a sharecropper family named Waller to toil in the cotton and tobacco fields under a searing sun, Herbert was already beginning to navigate the world. Joe's early years were rough. He did not know his real name until age 11, known as William Waller or Lefty by his baseball schoolmates. Sharecropping was a brutal existence that often left the family with nothing but tired bones after the landlord took his cut. Meanwhile, a teenage Herbert was already forging his own legacy at sea. At just 17 years old, he was serving as a seaman on the SS West Cajute under Captain Lorenz C. Cadell. Around 1920, when the head of the Waller household also disappeared, it was a well-dressed Herbert Alcox who knocked on the door to reclaim his brother, returning home with him to Norfolk. Herbert became the steady hand in a rough world, reuniting Joe with his true heritage. In 1926, Joe took off for New York City, working for a fur company, unpacking heavy coats while the world watched Charles Lindbergh fly the Atlantic. After big city adventures, Joe returned to Norfolk in 1928 to again live with his brother. Just prior to his 18th birthday, Joe stood before a Navy recruiter. Because he was underage, a sponsor was required. Herbert stepped up to sign the papers that gave his brother the chance to serve. Joe started as an apprentice seaman on the USS Detroit, scrubbing decks and chipping paint. His ascent to Radio Man First Class was a testament to his grit. He taught himself the international code to earn his rating. However, it was his time with the Yangtze River Patrol in China that defined his early naval career. Assigned to the Asiatic Station in 1935, Joe served on the USS Guam gunboat, patrolling 1,600 miles of the Yangtze River, a vast, treacherous territory infested with river pirates. These were not mere patrols, they were high-stakes escorts for standard oil boats through hostile waters, with Joe and crew standing at the ready with sidearms and .50 caliber machine guns. He lived through the terrifying ping of thieves' bullets bouncing off the hull of his boat and served as a vital communications link, relaying coded messages from the American embassy in Nanking directly to Washington. The tension of those years culminated on December 12, 1937, when Joe witnessed the horrific sinking of the USS Panay by Japanese warplanes, a chilling precursor to the conflict that loomed on the horizon. While Joe navigated the rivers of China, Herbert continued his own maritime journey as a merchant sailor and longshoreman until a typhoon off the coast of Japan crippled his leg and forced him to find a new path on land. Herbert eventually became a respected supervisor at the Naval Supply Center in Norfolk and a dedicated 50-year member of the Corinthian Masons and Scottish Rite. By World War II, Joe had reached the pinnacle of the enlisted ranks as a chief radio man, but in April 1942, his career was abruptly severed by a diagnosis of tuberculosis. That same year, the brothers endured a devastating personal loss when their brother Albert went down fighting aboard the USS Quincy during the Battle of Savo Island. Joe moved to California with his wife Helen to battle for his life, undergoing a harrowing surgery where 6 ribs were removed. He beat the disease, and in 1950, as the Korean War began, he returned to the sea with renewed purpose. Serving in the military Sealift Command, Joe traded the stripes of his youth for the bars of a radio officer. He spent the war on troop transports crossing the Pacific, finally earning the FCC telegraph license that required the advanced mathematics he had once been told was beyond his reach. Joe retired from the sea in 1967, later working as a Pinkerton detective and mastering ham radio. In 1987, after 46 years of marriage, Joe was devastated by the passing of his wife Helen. Eventually, in 1990, Joe found love again with Bonnie and was married in Reno. Herbert passed away at age 91 in 1994, leaving a legacy of service and family, including his wife of 59 years, Mary Brown Alcox. In his final reflections, Joe looked back at the boy without a name and remembered the brother who came back for him, acknowledging that from a very humble beginning, they had both lived great and joyful lives, forever forged by the sea.